summing. So if we have an array of numbers, how do we sum and average the numbers, or the array? Draw our array. So this is our array. And this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a 6-element array. And let's say that we have 70, 60, 50, 60, 80, 80, and 90 stored to this array. And we want to sum all of these elements, so we want to sum all of the numbers stored in these elements, and we also want to take the average. So what we can do is, first of all, we need a variable that's going to hold the sum, and we need to initialize that variable to 0. So I'm going to do a double. We're adding up integers, but I'm going to do a double just because we're going to be dividing for this. And so actually what I'm going to do is change this array from integers to doubles. So this array has doubles stored in it. So this is going to be, let's just say this is, our array is double scores 6. We have 6 elements, is equal to 70, 60, 50, 60, 80, and 90. So this is what we have. This is our array. So we want to add up all of these elements, and then we want to find the average. So we need a variable that, well, we need a couple variables. First, we need a variable that's going to hold the total of all of the elements in the array. And then we need a variable that's going to hold the average score when we calculate that. So I'm going to just declare 2 variables. So we have double total, and we want to initialize the total to 0 because before we've added anything up in the array, the total is 0. And we also want a variable for the average, and I'm not going to initialize that to anything. And then what we need to do is we need a for loop to step through the array and add everything up. So we have for int count, and we want to start at 0. Remember, always start at 0 with arrays, don't start at 1. Count, and we have 6 elements in our array, so count is less than 6. And then count plus plus. And then what we're going to do is just say total plus equal total. So this is going to go through the loop. It's going to add up all of the values that we have stored in the loop. And so after this for loop is done running, it's going to have 70 plus 60 plus 50 plus 60 plus 80 plus 90 stored in total. So that's how we get the total. That's how we sum all of the values in an array. For the average, what we're going to do is just say average is equal to the total divided by the number of elements in the array. So we have 6 elements in the array, so we divide the total by 6 to get the average. And one thing you want to make sure that when you calculate the average, it's outside of the for loop that you use to sum everything in the array. We can also do this with a range-based loop. So this is with the regular for loop. If we want to do this with a range-based loop, it's just the same thing. So we have our double, well, I don't need to declare those again. So we already have our total and average variables declared. So if we want to do a range-based loop, we just have for int val, and we don't need a reference variable because we're not changing anything in the array. The name of the array, and then total plus equal val. And then we can just do the average after that. So the only thing that changes with this is the loop. If we use a range-based loop versus a regular for loop, the average is still the total divided by 6. And make sure the average is outside of the loop.